He said, "You leave at 7:40. And I froze because he was right. Inhale. I didn't even know his name. I'd seen him around my building, sure. Everybody has that one neighbor. The one you recognize by shape, by footsteps, by the way the elevator smells after they've been in it. But we'd never talked. Not once. So when he said that, so casually, like it was the weather, I just stood there with my keys in my hand, heart suddenly loud in my chest. He smiled. Small, friendly, almost polite. "You leave at 7:40, he repeated. "Every weekday." Pause. I forced a laugh, the kind you do when you're trying not to look scared. "Yeah," I said. I have work?" He nodded like he'd expected that answer. "Of course," he said. Then he looked past me down the hallway and added, "You're usually back by 6:10. Exhale. My stomach turned. Because I hadn't told him anything, not my schedule, not my job, not even my first name. And it wasn't just the fact that he knew it. It was the way he said it, like he'd been waiting for it. I live on the 3rd floor of an older apartment building. Nothing fancy. Tan carpet in the hallways, walls that breathe when the heat kicks on, a lobby that smells like mail, dust, and cheap cleaning spray. I moved in 6 months ago. Fresh start, new job, new city. I didn't know anyone here, which was the point. My routine was simple. Wake up at 6:30, shower, coffee, keys, out the door at 7:40 sharp. I liked it that way, predictable, safe, and now someone else knew it. That morning, after he said it, I didn't know what to do. Walking away felt rude. Talking more felt dangerous. So I did the only thing that felt normal. I nodded again. "Have a good one," I said. I stepped around him, heading toward the stairs, and as I passed, he leaned closer, not touching me, just close enough to make my skin tighten, and he whispered, "You've been sleeping better since you stopped checking your locks." Pause. My feet stopped moving. I turned my head slowly. "What?" I asked. He was already walking away, like he hadn't said anything, like it didn't matter, like he'd just dropped a coin into a fountain and made a wish. All day, my hands felt wrong, like they weren't mine, like my fingers were too stiff, too cold. At work, I kept replaying it. "You leave at 7:40, back by 6:10. Sleeping better since you stopped checking your locks." That last part hit the hardest, because it was true. When I first moved in, I was paranoid. New building, new neighbors, new noises. I checked my door lock twice, sometimes 3 times. Deadbolt, handle lock. Then I'd pull the door until it resisted. Only after a month did I relax. Only after a month did I start believing this place was normal. And now he'd noticed the moment I stopped, like it mattered to him. That night, I came home late, maybe 6:45. I didn't do it on purpose. I just took a longer route, made extra stops. I told myself if I changed my schedule, even slightly, it would break whatever pattern he'd memorized. The hallway was quiet when I got in. Too quiet. The kind of quiet where you feel like you're walking into a room that's already been holding its breath. I made it to my door. Apartment 3C. And there, right under my peephole, a tiny piece of painter's tape. Blue. The kind contractors use. Placed so carefully you could miss it if you weren't looking. I stared at it for a long time. Inhale. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe it had been there before. But I knew my door. I knew what it looked like. I reached out and peeled the tape off. Under it, a scratch. A thin, clean line in the paint, like someone had marked a spot. Not random damage, Not wear and tear. A mark, a reference point. Exhale. I went inside and locked the door. Deadbolt. Handle. Chain. Then I stood there with my back against the wood, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no elevator. Just the building settling. I told myself to breathe. I cooked dinner. Tried to watch something on TV. But I couldn't stop thinking about that tape. A mark on my door. For what? Later, when I was brushing my teeth, I checked my bathroom mirror. And I noticed something else. A second line. On the inside. Not on the door. On the wall by the entryway. There was another tiny scratch. Same height, same angle. Like someone had been measuring. Like someone had been mapping my apartment. Pause. That night I didn't sleep. I laid in bed with my eyes open, staring into the dark. At 2:13 a.m., I heard a sound outside my door. A soft scrape. Then, a click. Not my lock, not the handle. Something smaller, like metal tapping metal. I held my breath. Sound came again. Slow, steady. Then stopped. And after that, silence. No footsteps walking away. No elevator. Just silence. Like whoever was out there didn't leave. In the morning, I checked my door. Everything's still locked. No damage. No forced entry. No sign anything happened. Which was worse, because it meant the sound was intentional. It meant someone could stand outside my door at 2 a.m. and leave no trace, and they knew I wouldn't open it. Because they knew me. Because they knew my routine. Over the next week, I started noticing little things. Small, easy to dismiss. A gum wrapper in the hallway outside my apartment, then a second one the next day. A faint smudge on my peephole, like someone had put a finger there. And once, I came home and my doormat was turned slightly, just off center, like it had been moved, then set back. Almost the same, almost perfect. Then came the elevator. I was leaving for work one morning, running late. I hit the button, the doors open, and he was inside. The neighbor, standing at the back of the elevator like he'd been waiting. He didn't look surprised to see me. He looked satisfied. He smiled again, that same small, polite smile. "Morning," he said. I nodded. I didn't step in. I don't even know why. Something in my body refused. The elevator doors stayed open, waiting. He tilted his head. "You're late?" he said. Pause. My throat tightened. Yeah, I managed. He looked at his watch. "It's 7:46, he said softly. 6 minutes behind." Exhale. I turned and took the stairs. I didn't even care if I looked rude. Behind me, the elevator doors closed, and I swear, as I walked down the steps, I heard a soft sound above me. Footsteps, matching mine. Not rushing, not chasing, just following, keeping pace, like a metronome, like practice. By that weekend, I couldn't pretend it was nothing. I started staying up late again, checking locks again. But here's the problem. Once you start checking, you can't stop. Because if you check once, you'll wonder if you checked right. And if you check twice, you'll wonder what made you need to check twice. And if you check 3 times, you'll sit in the dark and realize you're not trying to keep someone out. You're trying to convince yourself you're still alone. Sunday night, I came home from the grocery store. 2 bags, keys, phone. I stepped into the hallway on my floor and froze. My apartment door was slightly open, not wide, just a crack. A thin black line between the door and the frame. The chain wasn't on. The deadbolt wasn't thrown. The handle was turned. Just enough. My heart dropped so hard I felt it in my stomach. Inhale. I didn't walk inside. I didn't call out. I just stood there and stared. Because my brain was screaming one thought. Someone already knows you're here. Someone is already listening. I backed away slowly, pulled my phone out, and called the cops. I kept my eyes on the door the whole time, waiting for movement, waiting for a shadow. Nothing. The police came, 2 officers. They entered first, checked every room, closet, bathroom, under the bed. No one, no sign of forced entry. One officer looked at me like I was wasting his time. Door probably didn't latch, he said. Old building. I nodded, pretending that made sense. 'Cause how do you explain? I always latch it. I always check it. I used to live like a person who didn't trust the world. Then I relaxed. Then I got watched. That night, I stayed with my friend across town. Different building, different street, different locks. I slept like a rock for 6 hours straight. No dreams, no noises, no footsteps. And when I woke up, I almost laughed. Like, okay, I'm safe. It was just anxiety. It was just stress. Then I checked my phone. One new message, unknown number. It was a photo. My apartment door, from the outside, taken at night, and in the corner of the photo was a timestamp, 2:13 a.m., the same time I heard the clicking. Exhale. Below the photo was one line of text. You weren't home. I sat up so fast my head spun. My friend was still asleep. The room felt too bright, too normal. My hands started shaking. I tried to call the number. It didn't go through. I texted back. Who are you? No response. Just those 3 words in my head, repeating. You weren't home. Like it was an accusation. Like it was a test. I went back to my apartment that afternoon with my friend. I didn't want to go alone. The hallway felt different with someone beside me. Less heavy, less personal. My door was closed, locked. Normal. Inside, everything looked untouched, but my friend stopped in the entryway. He stared at my wall. What's that? He asked. I followed his gaze. On the inside of my door, right above the chain lock, there was a new scratch, deep, fresh, and beside it, another and another. 3 marks lined up, like tallies, like counting days, or attempts. I swallowed hard. My friend turned to me slowly. Bro, he said, someone's messing with you. I didn't answer. Because in my head, I wasn't thinking about messing with me. I was thinking, he's learning me. That night, I sat in my car across the street from my building. I watched the entrance. I watched the lights in the lobby. I watched people come and go. I waited. And around 11:47 p.m., I saw him, my neighbor. He walked out like it was nothing, hands in his pockets. No hurry. He crossed the street and stopped right under the streetlight. Then he looked up, directly at my building, at my floor, at my window. My mouth went dry because I wasn't standing at the window. I was in my car. He shouldn't have known I was watching, but he did. He smiled, and he raised his hand and pointed at my window. Then he did something small, something that made my skin crawl. He tapped his wrist like he was checking a watch, like he was reminding me about time, about routines, about schedules. Exhale. Then he walked away. I didn't go inside. I drove to a hotel, checked in, locked the door behind me, sat on the bed with my shoes still on, and I stayed awake until the sun came up, because I didn't trust sleep anymore. Not after I realized sleep is when your routine stops being yours. Sleep is when you can't check the locks. Sleep is when you stop being the one in control. The next day, I packed essentials. I called my landlord, told him I was moving out. He sounded annoyed, like I was inconveniencing him. "Can't break the lease," he said. I didn't argue, because at that point, money didn't matter. I came back that evening to grab the last of my things. The hallway on my floor was empty. I walked quickly. I didn't look around. I didn't want to see him. I got to my door, 3C, and taped to it was a note, white paper, clean edges, 4 words. "You forgot your goodbye. Inhale." I ripped it down, my fingers shaking so hard the paper tore. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. For the first time in weeks, I felt angry, not scared, angry. I slammed the door behind me and locked it. Deadbolt, chain, everything. Then I heard it, a slow knock from the other side. 1, 2, 3. I didn't breathe, I didn't move. Then a voice, his voice, soft, right through the wood. 7:40, he whispered. Pause. My eyes filled with tears. Not from sadness, from the sheer pressure of being seen, being known, being studied. He didn't knock again, he didn't leave, he just stood there. And after a long moment, he said the last thing I ever heard him say, his tone calm, almost gentle. "You can change your address," he whispered, "but you can't change your pattern. Exhale." I grabbed my bags and walked out. I didn't look at him. I didn't open the door fast. I opened it like I was walking into a stranger's home. The hallway was empty. Of course it was. Because whatever he was, he didn't need to stand there anymore. He already got what he wanted. He proved it. He proved that my life wasn't private, that my habits weren't mine, that my routine was a map. I live somewhere else now. Different building, different floor, different locks. I leave at different times. I take different routes. I don't sit by the same windows, and I never, ever let myself fall into a rhythm again. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't being followed. It's realizing someone learned you well enough to predict you. And once they can predict you, they don't have to chase you. They just have to wait for 7:40.